Today, I'll show you how to make this Dresden plate table topper. The red, white, and blue theme of this table topper is perfect for Memorial Day, Veterans Day, or even the 4th of July. Now, I happen to make this one just large enough for our coffee table, but depending on how large you make your blade, you can make this any size you want. I'll show you how easy it is to whip up next. What's up, YouTube? Now, some of you hardcore Scrappy Patch fans may have noticed that I took a little vacation from videos for about a week. And by vacation, I mean Mother got a dumpster, and I spent the week filling that up with junk. When Papa got the boot, Mama got the loot. Too bad he was a junk hoarder. And every time I try to put stuff in that dumpster, Mother tried to take it right back out. Mothers. Anyway, the things you're going to need to make this Dresden table topper are some red, white, and blue fabric. Now, like the name suggests, I like my things scrappy. So I went ahead and dug through my fabric stash, and today I'll be using 3 different prints of blue, 4 different prints of white or cream, and 3 different prints of red. You're also going to need some sort of batting. Today I'll be using this cream colored flannel here because I just like the way it lays, but you can certainly just use batting. Now, just to be safe, I have about a yard here. You're going to need about a yard of backing fabric. I'm going to choose this nice blue. You're also going to need some sort of heat and bond. I'm going to be using this sewable kind here. You're also going to need some sort of circle template. I have this coffee lid here. It may be too big, so I might have to find something smaller. You're also going to need your sewing machine with thread, your iron and ironing board, and because this is a Dresden table topper, you're going to need a Dresden ruler here. Now, this one is only 8 inches long, and I want it to be bigger. So the first thing that we're going to do is go ahead and make a larger template of our Dresden ruler. So let's get started. Alright guys, so the first thing that you're going to want to do is go ahead and enlarge your Dresden ruler. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pencil here, and I'm just going to trace down the sides and across the bottom. Just like that. Now, at this point, you can make these as long as you want. Today, I'm just going to settle for 12 inches here. So what I'm going to do is just lay my ruler down here. I'm going to match up this bottom point, and I'm going to extend my line to 12 inches. Now I'm going to go ahead and do that on the other side. Just like that. And close the top. Now you just want to glue this to a piece of cardboard and cut it out. Alright guys, so now that I have my template here, you just want to take one of your fabrics, and like I said, I'll be using 3 different prints of red, 3 different prints of blue, and 4 different prints of white or cream. So from each of your prints, you want to cut out 2 blades. That'll give you a total of 20 blades. And as you can see, I'm just going to use scraps here. This is a great stash buster project. So I'm just going to lay my template on here. I have my fabric folded over. So I'm just going to cut this out using my rotary cutter. Just like that. And you can see now I have 2 blades. So you want to do that to all your fabric until you have 20 blades. Alright guys, so I have my 20 blades here. I have 2 stacks of 10. The next thing that you're going to do is we're going to take this over to our sewing machine. And for every blade, we're going to fold these in half with the pretty sides touching, and using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, we're going to sew right here along the top. Alright guys, I'm over here at my sewing machine. So like I said, we're going to fold each blade in half with the pretty sides of the fabric touching. And with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, we're going to sew along the top. Now there's no need to backstitch at this point, so I'm just going to go ahead and chain piece all 20 blades together. Alright guys, so I have my 20 blades here, chain pieced together. So now you just want to take your scissors and cut them apart. We're then going to take one of our blades here. We're going to stick our finger right here on this back point, and we're going to fold it in. Just like that. And that's going to form our blade. Now you want to get this point right here nice and sharp, so I'm just going to use a bone folder. You could also use a pencil. And I'm going to take this over to my ironing board, and I'm going to give it a good press. You want to make sure that your seam right here is running vertical to your blade. Just like that. Now you want to do that to all 20 blades. Alright guys, so I got all 20 blades all pressed and looking pretty. So the next thing that we're going to do is go ahead and lay this out. Now I have this separated into my 2 piles of 10 with one color in each pile. So I'm going to lay this one off to the side for a minute. So the first one I'm going to start with is white. And I'm going to place it right down here at the bottom. Next I'm going to do a red. Another white, and then blue. Now I'm just going to continue with the red, white, and blue until I use all 10 of my blades up. Just like that. Now that's half of my table topper. Now I'm just going to take my other stack here, and I'm just going to repeat this pattern, starting with the white. And it should look something like this. Now at this point, I like to take a picture with my phone, just so I don't get confused later on. Now the next step that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and sew these blades all together. Now I like to sew them together in pairs. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this white one, I'm going to lay it over the red one, just like that. And with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, I'm going to go ahead and sew down one side. I find it easiest to start here at the bottom and sew down till you get to the point. Now I'm going to go ahead and chain piece these together. So I'm going to go ahead and lay them into pairs. And you want to make sure that you lay them the right way. So with this white one, it's going to go over the blue. The red over the white. And so on and so on. Alright guys, I'll be using a straight stitch, a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I'm going to go ahead and chain piece these all together. You just want to make sure that your bottom matches, and most important, your points right here on this corner. Alright guys, so I have my blade pairs all sewed up here. So the next thing I'm going to do is just cut them apart. And we're going to take these over to our ironing board. And I'm just going to iron these open. Just like that. And you want your seams to be going all the same direction. Alright guys, I have my blade pairs all pressed out. I reassembled it into the pattern that I liked. And that's where that picture comes in really handy. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to sew these together into pairs, and then those pairs into pairs, until this whole table topper is complete. Alright guys, so I have this table topper all sewed together. Now at this point, you just want to turn it around and give it a good press, and make sure all your seams are running the same direction. Now because we want this to lay as flat as possible, I'm going to take my iron here from the front also, starting at the points, and I'm going to go in, just like this. And sometimes the fabric might want to fold in on itself a little bit here on the seams, and that's just fine. We want this flat. Alright guys, so I have this as flat as I possibly can. So I'm going to lay this off to the side for just a minute. And you're going to want to grab your batting, or in my case, this piece of flannel. You just want to lay it out on your work surface and smooth it flat. Now take your table topper. We're going to lay it right on top, and make sure that that's nice and flat also. So now you just want to take some pins and pin it all over. And I like to put about 2 or sometimes even 3 per blade. But you just want to avoid your seam lines here. Alright guys, so I have this all pinned together, and I'm going to go ahead and cut off any extra batting here, but I'm going to leave a good 2, 3 maybe inches around the border here. Alright guys, so the next thing that I'm going to do is take this over to my sewing machine, and I'm going to quilt my tabletop to the batting. Now to do that, I'm going to be using a zigzag stitch, and I'm going to zigzag stitch right along the seams here. You could also use a straight stitch and stitch in the ditch, but the zigzag will catch any little folds of fabric that we had to make here for this to lay flat, and you won't even be able to tell. Now I'm just going to be using white thread here, but you can certainly use red, white, or blue. And I'll start right down here at the bottom here. I'll zigzag stitch all the way across, and without even cutting my threads, I'll just go ahead right across to the next seam and do that to all these blades. Alright guys, I don't know if you can see it, but I went ahead and I zigzagged down all the seams here, and now it's laying nice and flat. The next thing I'm going to do is take my scissors here, and I'm just going to cut any extra batting away right up close to the edge here. Alright guys, and when you have your batting all trimmed up, you're also going to want to make about a 3 or 4 inch cut right here in the middle. So what I do is just fold it in half here and give it a snip. You may have to cut into your fabric a little bit, but that's just fine because we're going to cover that up later. Alright guys, so the next thing that you're going to want to do is go ahead and grab your backing piece. Make sure it's ironed and nice and flat. So now you just want to lay your backing piece face up, and then take your table topper and you want to lay it face down so the pretty sides of the fabric are touching. And smooth that out. And then you just want to go ahead and pin this like crazy. We do not want this to move. So I like to put one in each point, each valley, and all over in this middle, just so nothing moves. Alright guys, so once I get this all pinned up, our next step is I'm going to take this over to my sewing machine using a straight stitch and a 1/4 to 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stitch this all the way down, attaching my backing to my quilt top. You want to back stitch at the beginning and the end. So when I get this all pinned up, I'll meet you over at the sewing machine. Alright guys, so I'm just going to start right here in this little valley part. I already removed my pin. I'm going to do about a fat 1/4" seam allowance. You want to backstitch at the beginning. And then I'm just going to sew all the way around. When I get to my first point here, I'm going to stop with my needle down, raise my presser foot, and spin. And just keep sewing. Alright guys, so now that I have this all sewed all the way around, I backstitch at the beginning and the end. Next I'm going to come around here and I'm going to trim off any of this extra fabric. I'm going to snip off the corners of these blades here, but don't go through your thread. And I'm also going to make a notch right here in the valleys. Also, don't go through your thread. Alright, now that you have your points all clipped and your valleys here all notched, it's time to turn this right side out. And you want to do that through our little slit here. Now sometimes this could be difficult and you may need to make your hole a little wider. But I like to just go find one point and start pulling it through. Now using your bone folder, just go and push out all your points. Make sure they're nice and sharp. Alright guys, I have my points all pushed out, so now you just want to give this a really good press. And at this point, I like to use a lot of steam. Now you just want to take this over to your sewing machine, and using an 1/8 to 1/4" seam allowance, I'm going to go ahead and top stitch all the way around these little points here, making sure to backstitch at the beginning and the end. Alright guys, so I just went ahead and top stitched all the way around this table topper, and I went ahead and just used a 1/4" seam allowance. I think it looks fine. Now the next thing that we're going to want to do is cover up this hole. So in order to do that, you want to find something round. In the beginning of the video, I showed you this coffee lid. And for me personally, it looks okay, but it's too big. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and use my roll of elastic here. And I think that'll work out just fine. So now you just want to grab a piece of your heat and bond. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trace out my circle. Just like that, and cut it out. Now I'm just going to take a scrap piece of the backing, and I'm going to iron this heat and bond down to this fabric, following the manufacturer's instructions. If you never used heat and bond before, it's paper on one side and glue on the other. So I'm going to put the glue side facing the wrong side of the fabric and iron. Alright guys, so I have my heat and bond ironed on to my fabric here. And the package that I used said to iron for 6 seconds. So now I just let this cool, and I'm going to cut out my circle. Just like this. Now you just want to go ahead and remove the back paper. And I don't know if you can see that shininess, but now the glue is on the fabric. So I'm just going to eyeball this, position it over my hole. That looks good to me. And iron that down. Alright guys, now the final step is we're going to take this back over to our sewing machine. And using that same zigzag stitch that we did right here on the seams, I'm going to stitch all the way around this circle, backstitching at the beginning and the end. Alright guys, so I switched my machine back to a zigzag stitch. My length is about a 2.5 and my width is about a 3.5. Now I'm going to backstitch at the beginning and the end, and I'm just going to sew all the way around this circle. So let's go see what it looks like on the table. Alright guys, so here's what it looks like on the coffee table, and I think it turned out great. The finished size for this table topper with these 12-inch blades is about 23 inches wide. And I think this will be the perfect decor for this Memorial Day, or actually throughout the whole summer. Now like I said, you can make these blades any size that you want to fit your table. A few years ago I made this one for our kitchen table, and I used 15-inch blades. Well, I hope you give this project a try. If you like this video and want to see more of my videos, go down below and hit the big red subscribe button and give this video a big thumbs up. If you have a question about this video or any of my other videos, or would just like to leave a suggestion for a future upcoming video, leave me a comment. Feel free to share this video across your social medias. And as always, thanks for watching. Stay safe this Memorial Day, and I'll see you next time.